My comments today about FBI chiefs testifying honestly and not lying to Congress are particularly relevant in light of your opening statement. Let me start with the basic fact behind all of this, that the current FBI director pled the fifth in the matter where he ended up providing grand jury testimony. We've never had an FBI director come through this committee who had pled the fifth before. As you know, when you plead the fifth, to do it honestly, you have to have a good faith belief that your testimony would subject you to criminal liability, which meant if Patel was being honest, he had a good faith belief that his testimony would subject him to criminal liability. As that went forward, he ended up getting immunity from the government in order to testify. If this were a court, a civil court, a judge would allow an adverse inference to be drawn against the witness who had asserted the fifth. In Patel's proceedings, we were never even allowed to get to the bottom of the grand jury testimony. Why he pled the fifth, what he said, all of that was papered over as he went through this committee to confirmation. So for obvious reasons, I pursued that question, just as you would, Chairman, if the shoe were on the other foot. And I believe that Patel lied to us in the committee. He said that he couldn't share his grand jury testimony, and I'm quoting him here, because there's a court order on that case. He said, he said again, I can't go into court orders granted by the DC District Chief Judge. And then when I pressed him further, he challenged me saying, you want me to violate a court order? He then went on to say to Senator Booker that his grand jury testimony has been sealed by the Department of Justice, and I'm not allowed to discuss it here. Well, as it turns out, none of that was true. All of that was false. And we know that because the DC District Chief Judge, who he mentioned in his false statement to this committee, said, and I'm quoting the judge, July 2025, Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E allows witnesses like Patel to divulge the contents of their testimony, meaning that nothing was preventing him from doing so before the committee, unquote. So it sure looks like he lied about that. So in his recent testimony, I asked him again. And now he offered the committee a new and different lie, which is that he had released the transcript already. He said, first of all, I'd love my grand jury testimony to be released. I want it made public. And then he said, I wanted the transcript released, and I will get it to you, sir, to me. I wanted the transcript released, and I will get you the transcript. He said to me, we can confirm that pursuant to my action, that grand jury testimony has been released, the transcript. He said the transcript has been released publicly. He told Senator Booker, well, I don't have the grand jury transcript. That's why I released it. So, as it turns out, no transcript was released. He was making up that lie probably to get away from having to answer our questions. But now we have an FBI director who first lied in committee about a non-existent court order and had that lie exploded by the actual judge who he claimed had him under court order, and then lied in committee about having released a transcript that we all know has not been released. I think on that state of facts, we're entitled to get the transcript that he says he wants us to have, that he says he released publicly, and that the judge has confirmed is not under any court order of protection. So, Mr. Chairman, I look forward to working with you. I know you have a strong interest in FBI chiefs testifying honestly in this committee and not lying to Congress to try to get to the bottom of what is going on, because those seem like two pretty flagrant and obviously provable lies. And we'll follow up for further assistance to get to the bottom of this. But I don't think it's asking too much to ask the committee's support, to ask Director Patel to do what he says he has already done, which is to release the grand jury transcript of his testimony and provide it to us. Thank you.
At today's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat, Rhode Island, made serious accusations against FBI Director Kash Patel, claiming that he lied to the committee during his testimony. The accusations stemmed from Patel's previous actions during a hearing where he had pleaded the Fifth Amendment and later testified under immunity. Whitehouse pointed out that this was the first time an FBI director had ever invoked the Fifth Amendment in such a matter. By pleading the Fifth, Patel effectively signaled that he believed his testimony could subject him to criminal liability, a move that raised significant questions about his honesty. Patel was later granted immunity in order to testify, but there were still unresolved issues about what he had actually said during his grand jury testimony. Whitehouse continued, stating that Patel lied about the legal constraints surrounding his grand jury testimony. At one point, Patel claimed that a court order prohibited him from discussing his testimony, citing a ruling by the D.C. District Chief Judge. However, this was later disproven by the judge, who confirmed that there were no legal reasons preventing Patel from sharing his testimony with the committee. Despite the judge's clarification, Patel continued to insist that he could not reveal the details of his testimony. According to Whitehouse, Patel's initial lie was that he was under a court order that he could not break, which turned out to be false. Later, when pressed again, Patel changed his story, claiming that his grand jury transcript had already been released to the public. He even promised to provide the transcript to the committee. But Whitehouse confirmed that no such release had taken place, leading him to accuse Patel of fabricating the release. The senator expressed his frustration, urging the committee to demand the release of the grand jury transcript that Patel had falsely claimed was public. Whitehouse emphasized the importance of accountability, stressing that the committee should not allow lies to go unchecked, especially from a high-ranking government official like the FBI director. He made it clear that he intended to continue pursuing the truth, urging his colleagues to support efforts to secure the release of Patel's grand jury testimony. In conclusion, the hearing exposed significant issues with Patel's testimony, and Whitehouse's accusations underscored the need for transparency and accountability in high-stakes government proceedings.